Gentlemen, welcome to another episode of We Need to Talk. This is episode 418. Shout out to everybody who's been faithfully following the broadcast. All your comments, all the shares, subscription, everybody is all of your energy is much appreciated. And tonight we have a special guest in the building, a good friend of mine named Toya. She is in workforce development / health coaching / fitness coaching / motivator / instigator. No, I'm just but somebody who is definitely well-rounded, definitely focused on healing, helping, motivating, inspiring, and currently expanding, her business in multiple levels, and very consistent. I must say, you guys know I stand on consistency, and I always admire it when I see that. So we got Toya in the building. How you feeling?
I feel good. You know that I am a very shy person, so you're taking me out of my comfort zone, which is needed. But I feel good. Just the fact that you have this platform that you utilize to discuss topics like this, that I feel is relatable. Everyone can relate to. So I feel good.
For sure. Appreciate that. And yeah, I consider it a little bit of karma because, I'm sure you've taken some people out of their comfort zones in the gym, a little bit of pain here and there, you know what I mean? So it's only right we ourselves branch out a little bit and kind of, jump out of that zone. So I'm glad you did. I'm glad you showed up. And I really appreciate everything that you do and all the support that you provided, for myself and this show as well. So we're gonna get right into it. First of all, let the people know what it is you do and what you're involved in right now.
So as far as my 9 to 5, that piece of it, I work in workforce development, just helping individuals find employment, helping people that haven't worked in years re-enter the workforce. And then as a part-time entrepreneur, I'm a certified health coach. So I coach individuals and really just get them motivated so that they can see consistency as far as whatever their fitness goals are. It's different for everyone. Some people's fitness goals is to lose weight. Some people's fitness goal is they just want to incorporate a healthy lifestyle or whatever that looks like. Healthy eating, just being physical in some capacity. So that's that aspect of it as far as with health coaching. So just my biggest thing is just to motivate individuals in any way that I can.
That's excellent. And I've seen you for quite some time, even probably before you were certified or before you had language for what you were necessarily even doing. When I came across you on Instagram, and just the workout clips and just the consistency there, the back to back, it even had me being like, somebody who works out a lot being like, damn, do I need to go back? Am I slacking right now? I did one. Does it need to be a 2-a-day day? You know what I mean? You kind of, if seeing that in the feed, would put anybody in a position where, damn, I need to be about something, and they don't even have to be in the same room with you. So it was only right that you made moves to solidify, to stamp yourself, and to continue to just enhance your ability and to be able to be a catalyst for other people to not only achieve fitness goals, but to be overall, just to be healthy, period. And from your 9 to 5, it also, I see parallels with them both.
Absolutely.
Sort of you being the engine to get people working as far as the job is concerned, occupationally, and then being the engine to help people, reignite that spark to get working out, to get, doing, getting involved in fitness, staying in fitness, creating that consistency so that, even if somebody's at home on Instagram, they feel as though you're their accountability partner. They see you doing it. You're not somebody who's telling it but not living it. You're somebody who's constantly living it and providing the example for other people to motivate them even without saying a word, because it's just you in there knocking it out. And from an instructional standpoint as well, people may not know what to do or how to do it. So even from somebody who is interested in fitness but maybe not in your area, they can at least see your technique, your form, things that you're doing that can add to their routines as well. So that's very much excellent. And I want to take us back, or take the people back to the origins, because I do believe that when we find something we love, it was for me, it was always there. I always feel as though, or my hypothesis is that it was there all along. We may have just wandered around, sometimes, and done other things, but I would argue that those sparks and those ingredients were always there. And so I wanted to kind of talk about, your childhood story and some of the things that you did back then that may have ties to now. What was little Toya doing? What were you kind of running around? What would you do with your free time? What kind of games would you play? Were you the motivator then that you are now in a different way? Kind of take us through that.
So it's funny you say that. So when I was younger, I was never into like being physical. Like I was the type of girl that I was more so dainty. Like I wasn't a tomboy. I didn't, into sports and things like that when I was younger. But I do have 4 other siblings, and I was always the one. I'm the eldest, and I was always the one that I always motivated them in some capacity. Like that was, my role as an older sister. So now looking back at it, yeah, I was the one that always was motivating, someone, aside from motivating myself, always motivating my siblings or someone else. And so now it's funny that you said, the parallel between me working in workforce development and then also doing this health coaching. That's kind of like where I got that was the spark, like where I started contemplating as far as like trying to find what my purpose is in life. When I said to myself, well, in workforce development, I have to motivate individuals. Sometimes I have to motivate individuals to get jobs that they're just not there, and so forth. And then now working with individuals in fitness, I'm doing the same thing, motivating them in some capacity. But as a child, I would have to say I was always big on motivating. I was always big on taking the lead. Even from a young age, I used to have conversations with my father and so forth. And he always told me how I always set the tone, how, I was very independent and, big on accountability. And that's something that I took with me into my adulthood. I'm very big on accountability and being consistent. Like even when I did things as a child, I was always consistent, my father told me. So, yeah, the only difference is, like I said, I was not a physical person when I was younger. I was more like dainty. I didn't like to get dirty in high school. You know what I mean? I was failing gym where they said, if you don't pass gym, you're not going to graduate. So I wasn't that person. It's just, these past couple of years where I really started getting into the whole fitness thing.
And that's an excellent story, and I think that I always view it as we all, even though we may end up in similar industries as other people, we have a unique, specific story, and our personality plus our environments usually cater to the forming of that purpose. And I think for you being in a setup of being the oldest, that entails a stepping up and setting the tone, setting an example, and possibly motivating. It sets you up. It postures you to have that sort of stance. Not to say the oldest in every family does that effectively, but I will say it was the setup for you to accept that challenge and to be like, okay, well, let me get everybody in the flock together, and get everybody motivated and set on the right course, because they're looking up to you anyway. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
That's important. And also, the consistency that you mentioned, the accountability that you mentioned, these are all leadership qualities, and I'm a firstborn as well. So there's a book called The Firstborn Advantage. I would definitely encourage you to check out if you have time, because that book was it was major, and it'll explain a lot. Just being the eldest sibling, it'll explain a lot, and it shows kind of, it'll probably uncover or at least reveal to you why you are the way you are in certain elements. But that's a duty. That's a position, kind of, like, what I'm saying. Even though you didn't choose the order, you become, either you're gonna fall short or you're gonna step up to it, and that comes with a lot. And I think based on what you do now, those same elements are important. If you're gonna health coach, fitness coach, consistency. If the fact that you've been living that even beyond getting certified and things like that, the fact that that's been central to you for years of time is important. The accountability element is important, because what's some of the first things that happen when you get into a fitness situation with a client? You might encounter some excuses. You know what I'm saying? You might encounter patterns that are resistant to changing health, because it requires some things. It requires giving up certain things. It requires doing things actively that they weren't doing before. You know what I'm saying? Right. So, all of these elements you have carried forward, and that are critical when it comes to what you're doing. So that makes you an all around great and great and purposeful person to be in the field that you're in. You know what I'm saying? You couldn't ask for more than that. Like, that's the kind of coach you would want, No,
yeah, absolutely right. And I keep thinking like how everything goes hand in hand, because like, even, my 9 to 5 in workforce development, even my role, I have a leadership role. I'm a manager. So I run a center, I have a small team. So these same qualities that I have, that I have to have being a health coach, is the same qualities that I have to have, as a manager. You know what I mean? Take accountability. I have to set the tone and so forth, because I'm responsible for others. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it's just crazy, like how I never really thought of it in that way. And as everything continues to play out, then I say to myself, like, wow, like I've been doing this for so long, in my face.
Right. The whole time. And let's look at this. You said in your 9 to 5, you have a small team. Like, and now I would argue that, when you had your siblings came into play, that was also a small team. It's you were leading a small team in your original household. This stuff is deep, like, but at the same time, it shows that, just the power of discovering purpose, which is why, me being a mental health coach as well as a dating and relationship coach, I always hone in on purpose. Even though when you think dating, you don't think it's correlated with purpose, or mental health, you think, people don't necessarily correlate the two. But I correlate the two heavily in both areas, because of the fact that, purpose is so intimately tied with identity, and the lack of identity puts us in some compromising situations dating wise. If we don't have a fully formed identity, then our fractured identity is a void that needs to be filled, and we fill it a lot of times with individuals who may not have our best interests at heart, or who may be fractured themselves in certain ways. So it's kind of like, you know, also the purpose is a fulfillment mechanism as well. And where it also shows where you were most comfortable, right? So you were born into this situation, you stepped up to it, you formed your personality around what was going on, all of these leadership qualities that you have, and you almost duplicated it work-wise. And now you're adding an entrepreneurial component utilizing the same core. It's the same core. And you know, it's just doubling down on the best of you. It's like, you know, it's not about changing into somebody else or doing something that's good, that's great money wise, but that's not central to you. You're following, like I would argue you never left your spark anywhere. You just discovered other lanes to manifest it.
Yeah.
And it's really great for you as well, just to have, you know, an entrepreneurial side to it, because, you know, that in that way you're able to do what you love, but you're in control of it. You know what I'm saying? At the same time. So, speaking of dating, let's get into this, right? So, you're in New York, right?
New York City, yes.
Yeah. And I've lived up there. I've lived up there myself a couple times. You know what I'm saying? So I kind of got some of the vibe. But you're originally from there, right?
Yes, born and raised.
Got you. So this is good. Now, how would you describe the dating scene in New York from your point of view and your experience?
From my experience, it's been really difficult. It's been really difficult, and especially, you know, with the pandemic that hit and all, that's made things even more difficult. And I think even though there's so many outlets when it comes to dating, because, you know, there's online dating, which I'm not a big fan of. I tried it. It wasn't for me. I tried it twice. I'm more so, I like things to happen organically. So my ideology is to meet somebody organically, whether I'm on my way to work, meeting somebody on the train, meeting somebody at the mall, just in those scenarios. But dating in New York City has been very difficult for me. It's non-existent currently.
Okay.
It hasn't worked out for me at all. And I've tried so many different things, even outside of my comfort zone. Like I said, online dating, I've never been a big fan of that, but my friends is like, you know, online dating is the wave right now. That's how everybody is doing it, finding people and so forth. It didn't work out for me. Tried it organically. It didn't work out for me either. So my experience, I can't speak for others. I do have some friends that have the same experiences that I do, some that have great experiences. But dating in New York City has not worked out for me. But I've always, when it comes to this area, this arena, with dating, it's never worked out for me. Even as a teenager, it's never worked out for me. So yeah, it hasn't been the best experience.
That's where I want to go next, because I want to be able to talk through your relationship timeline. You know, kind of, you know, from when you first started dating, kind of to, you know, as fast forwarding to kind of recent times, and, you know, some of the relationships, you know, what went right, what went wrong, what intel you were able to gain, because, you know, no matter what the relationship timeline looks like for all of us, the biggest thing is to be able to gain as much as we can and learn as much as we possibly can about ourselves, so that we can, you know, kind of see where we at. Because I always look at, like, when we're dating, especially long term, not like just met somebody and it disappeared. I mean, like, you know, when you date somebody long term, that's a reflection of where we're vibrating, what elements are active and dominant within us. In order for that to be a match for an extended period of time, there's some commonality there, that there's some shared energy there, and so it'd be interesting to know kind of how your experience has been. But before we do that, shout out to everybody in the chat. I see Wilmer Black, Will Dandado, what's going on? Charlotte Clark, how we doing down there? So thank you guys for coming as well. But yeah, take us through your, and you can add the little small things here and there, or you can skip them and focus on the big ones. But however you'd like to present it.
So going back to my childhood, like when I first started dating as a teenager, which is about 16 years old, I haven't had much experience actually in dating, to tell you the truth. Like, I'm a 40-year-old college educated Black woman, and I have not had much experience with dating. So at the age of 16, my first boyfriend, my first love, my first everything, I was with him from 16 to the age of 27. And still, even though we were together for so long, I still didn't have that experience of dating. It was more so like, okay, you're my boyfriend, I'm your girlfriend, we live together, and that was it. It wasn't like, there was no real dating or anything going on, like date night and things like that. And then after I got out of that relationship, which is the only relationship that I've been in, then after that, there were maybe like 2 guys that I dated after that. One, I really started to get the experience of what it was to date and so forth. The other one, not so much. So to talk about the one that I did have that experience with dating, we were, I thought, compatible because, he didn't have any children. I didn't have any children. We both were, had our careers. A lot of our views were aligned, whether that's, political, etc. But it just didn't work out. He met somebody else that he was more interested in and so forth. So I never really had that experience of dating. I am a very shy person, so I'm old school in the sense of I don't go up to a man I wouldn't approach a man and, start that conversation. It would have to be something more so where he would approach me to start that conversation. But because I am shy and my demeanor, sometimes I have, heard from people that I'm not approachable and so forth. So I'm really trying to change that. And I mean, Marcus, we've had tons of conversations. I mean, I came to you because I needed assistance in this area of my life. But so there's a lot of things that I'm working on that, I'm not one to point the finger and say the reason why I'm single is because of everyone else, right? I'm really big on taking accountability. So I take accountability that when I was younger, I wasn't vulnerable. There were things like, as far as even, I don't like PDA, public displays of affection. I wasn't an affectionate person. A man trying to hold my hand or hug me and so forth like that. I didn't like any of that. And I've heard guys tell me like, you're not affectionate. You don't seem to have any emotions and so forth. So I see where I went wrong. You know what I mean? When I was younger. So I'm trying to rectify that now, which I think I'm doing a pretty good job of doing. But I just haven't really had those experiences. And, like I explained to you, Marcus, it's frustrating at times because I say to myself, like I said, I think I'm a well put together person, as far as in all aspects of my life, you know what I mean? And I don't have any children. And again, let me put this disclaimer out there. It's nothing wrong with women who have children that are dating, but the fact that I'm single and I don't have any children, so I don't have any other responsibilities, right? So if a man comes into my life, I'm responsible for myself. It's not like he's like, okay, well, she has a child or children and so forth. So I feel like it's a bit easier and so forth. But all in all, everything that I feel I have to offer and, how I feel like I'm well put together, it still hasn't been working out in my favor. So
and what what are your because I know and I hear you, and I wanted to kind of see, like, based on your what are your love languages, would you say now? Because you mentioned the PDA thing and not really being a fan of that and stuff like that. What ways do you enjoy a partner showing or expressing their love to you? Which ways are best for you?
So when it comes to my love languages and things like that, I'm an auditory person. So I go based off of what I hear.
Okay.
So even though I've never been in a long distance relationship, I know that I wouldn't have a problem with a long distance relationship because I'm everything with me is what I hear. So all I
Okay.
need to have is conversations and that type of time. It's not really about, like, I guess the physical aspect of it, like being actually with that person, being able to see that person all of the time and so forth. So that's my love language. Again, getting back to like the PDA and things like that, I've gotten better with that. Like, I could be out and about holding a man's hand and so forth like that. You know what I mean?
But
Things
but
of
do
that
you
nature.
but do you be cringing though? Like you be like, shit, like, you know what I mean? You be going through it internally, like about to have some kind of heart attack or acid reflux or that, like, or because again, love language is love language. Like it's not about. It's kind of like it is what it is. So to force it to be something else defies the whole point of it anyway. Like, would,
Right.
would you want to get better with that? Like, for whose reason would you want to get better with it?
Probably for myself, but I have gotten better with that because prior to when I said, okay, I'm just going to take a break and just focus on myself, I did go out with the guy and so forth, and he went to hold my hand, and that was cool. Was it a little uncomfortable for me? Yeah, but it wasn't something that I cringed. I actually just got used to it as far as him holding my hand and so forth like that. You know what I mean? So I've gotten better with that. I'm just a really shy person, and I'm not as affectionate. So I know I still have to work on that and so forth. But more so, I would want to work on that, for myself. And I think I will get when I'm able to be 100% vulnerable with somebody. I think those things will just come naturally. Somebody holding my hand and me just being affectionate. But if I can't be 100% vulnerable, because that's what I had to work on, because I was never able to be vulnerable, until I'm able to be 100% vulnerable with somebody, then those things are going to be still be somewhat of an issue.
Right, and that makes a lot of sense, because if there's a distinct difference between a love language situation that's rooted in just a normal baseline, and then one that's rooted in being guarded, or a level of not being fully secure with somebody yet. You know what I'm saying? Like, because in that sense, then it's something that has to be earned, as opposed to given in the initial stages. And you have to feel comfortable enough in the situation, or committed enough in a situation where there's trust there, there's emotional intimacy there's a track record with that person, and that makes sense. But I guess what I would ask, knowing your relationship history, right, and kind of what you just mentioned, what were you this way? Well, I guess your first boyfriend was 16, you said?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's hard to say what you were before that, because that's really the time you figure it out. So it's kind of like, but how were you around that person? Like that first boyfriend was PDA an issue? Was affection, being affectionate, was all of that in that relationship, or it didn't exist there either?
It didn't exist because he wasn't that type of person either. So we were the same.
Okay.
in that way. We wasn't like all lovey-dovey outside walking, him hugged up on me and stuff like that. That wasn't his thing either. So we were similar in a lot of ways. So it never was, you know what I mean? It never was an issue. But even just thinking back before the age of 16, or even when I was younger, I've just always been that type of person. I was never affectionate. I never showed my emotions. And things of that nature. That's just who I was, even from I was a child. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So.
And would you say, you know, that came from maybe a sense of responsibility, like, and I say that from the standpoint of sometimes when, you know, we're the oldest, we have more responsibilities, and out, you know, we're looked at as the person who is the leader, the doer, like you said, the motivator, and, you know, all of that stuff. And sometimes we may not, we may get used to putting our emotions, our feelings, our values, our needs kind of on the back burner for the sake of fulfilling the role that we're in, or the perception of the role that we're supposed to be in. Do you feel like it's that, or do you feel like it's more so just the natural way that you present?
You know what? I think it may be both, especially since you just said that. I didn't even think about it. Like, Marcus, you have a way of pulling things out of me. Um, just the simple fact that you said, because I was the oldest and, you know, I had a responsibility, maybe I put my feelings and so forth aside. And I would have to say I agree with that, because, and I think also in the way I was raised, you know, my father always said to me, like, you're the oldest, you set the tone. You know what I mean? He raised me to be very independent. You know, he always used to raise me to say, you know, he always used to say, my father's, you know, was Caribbean. So he always used to say, you know, girls, you know, I don't want you to, I guess, show a weakness, you know what I mean, in certain ways. So, I would have to say, yeah, it's probably both. The fact that I was the eldest, I had a responsibility, you know what I mean? My siblings, they looked up to me. So yeah, I feel like I just had to set aside, you know, my feelings and everything, and more so just focus on them. So I couldn't, you know, I guess I couldn't reveal like my emotions and maybe who I really was, you know?
Yeah. No, and all of that makes perfect sense. Because, you know, and I was hoping you would kind of touch on, you know, the early stages, or at least the climate, or as far as what you were, what was instilled in you. Because, you know, it's not to put a value judgment on how, you know, how we're, aside from abuse and all that kind of stuff, but I'm talking about,
Right.
like, the principles that remain dominant and where the accolades come from. A lot of
Right.
times, you know, because I always say, like, especially you know, for example, like rescuer mentality and stuff like that. You know, people who date for potential and things like that. You know, a lot of times there was a lot of attention and accolades and value and self-esteem placed on them for their ability to take care of siblings, take care of uh, family members, or take care of, just to be care driven and to put personal values and needs aside. Because again, as children, we want to live up to the standard. We want to live up to what the family represents. We want to live up to the responsibilities that are placed on us, especially if not only it's drilled in verbally, but if that's where the attention is. You know what I'm saying? If you know, if we, let's say, for in a totally extreme situation, if a kid was only valued or shown love when he was academically strong, you know, that person may grow up to be a high achiever, but would maybe have trouble in dating life because, you know, they're not focused on getting their values met. They're consumed with achieving and always having to be focused in this particular area, because that's where the sparks were growing up. That's where the energy was around that.
Right.
So,
Right.
and there's, you know, sometimes there's protective intent in that, because you mentioned things like being independent, things like that. I could assume that part of that was, hey, I don't want you having to be out here picking a guy because you need him, or picking a guy, or having a guy take advantage of you because he's the one that's making the money, or he that sort of thing. Like you being able to stand alone and to be functional and to be able to take care of yourself. You know what I'm saying? And so, but at the same time, there comes a point where you've lived the experience, and you've already talked about times that friends or other people may, or exes maybe even, comment on certain things that were difficult to navigate based on what how you've come out. So then it's for us as adults, it's like, okay, we take how we came up, take the feedback, and now we focus on a healthy balance that works for us, and kind of see where those results come from. And again, it's can be kind of tough because we're a certain way, we get used to being a certain way, but every inch towards that balance is a great step. And you being somebody who's heavily involved in working out and incremental progress, and checking back and seeing progress and going further and pushing the limits, and it falls right in line with your mentality. So I know that you're more than capable of just continuing the journey, because we're all on that journey, really, to understand ourselves and understand where there may be extremes and where we need to bring things back to the middle space. Because at the end of the day, we all deserve to have our needs met, our emotions to mean something, have the ability to express what we need, what we want, where we want to be, and for that to be who we naturally are, and who we are out just in the outside world, period. And so I would definitely say that you got it. You know what I'm saying? Like you got it. And but it all comes down to, just in anything, it all comes down to balance. And so as of right now, are you actively dating? Like where would you say you are right now?
As of right now, I'm not actively dating. I've tried, okay. Like, as far as like, I'm trying to put myself out there. I mean, I'm a gym rat. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, I'm always at the gym. Where do most men congregate? The gym. And I go to the gym twice a day, Monday through Friday, sometimes on the weekends too. You know what I mean? So I felt like, okay, I'm sure. So this is a sure win. You know what I mean? It didn't work out like that. Again, I don't know if it's just my personality, because when I'm in the gym, like other people, I'm focused on what it is that I'm doing. So I'm not observant of anyone or anything else that's going on. And I guess in order to be able to meet people, you got to be aware, like, some type of eye contact, smile, whatever it is like that. But that, that's something that's also difficult for me too. I know it sounds crazy, a 40-year-old woman. Oh, why, how could a 40-year-old woman be so shy? But, I'm just a very shy person. I've been shy since I was a child. I'm like a very shy person. It may not show, but I am. Family and friends who know me, and you, Marcus, you know what I mean? I'm a very shy person. So in the gym, it could be because, again, my demeanor, I don't really make eye contact. If someone makes eye contact with me, most of the time I just look away, and then I kick myself and be like, why'd I look away? If somebody, you know what I mean? So it's just something I gotta, like, I guess, get out of my. I really have to work on that. But I guess I'm just old school in the sense I'm like, why do we have to do all of this? If you're interested, approach me. You know what I mean? But I've heard, I've actually heard men in the gym talking when I was working out, saying like, I don't approach a woman. She has to give me something, whether she has to give me some type of conversation or whether that's a hi or a bye or something. You got to get that vibe before approaching a woman. So I've heard. So I don't know. I guess just everything, right, stems from your childhood. So I guess all of that translate, I guess, in my dating life now, as far as the type of person that I am with taking a lead. I'm a very ambitious and driven person. My family and friends all know this. So a lot of the things, like even taking a lead, I know that I messed up with some situations with men because I always have to take the lead. And at the end of the day, I have to say to myself, okay, you got to let a man be a man, like let that man take the lead. You know what I mean? But I was just so caught up and used to like, I'm independent. No, I don't need you to pay for this for me. No, I don't need you to do this for me. I can do it for myself. But it's like, okay, if I don't need a man to do this for me, then that man could say, well, what do you need me for? Why am I here? You know what I mean? And I've had a guy tell me that, like, I had a situation where we were in Walmart and I was buying some fitness stuff, and he had his stuff and he put his stuff on the up on the register to be scanned, and I had some stuff in my hand and he took it out my hand and he put it on the bell, right, to be scanned by the cashier. And when he went to turn around, I took my stuff off of the thingy, and so that he could pay for his stuff. And then when he was like, come on, what are you waiting for? And he looked and he saw that I was paying for my stuff. He really didn't say anything, but that really changed the dynamics of our relationship, because I think things just changed from there. You know what I mean? So could I have let him pay for it? Yeah. But in my mind, I'm like, no, because I don't want him to think that he has to do this for me. I can pay for my own stuff. You know what I mean? And again, I think that all stems back from childhood. My father, before he left this earth, he said to me one time when we was having a conversation, he said, I think I kind of messed up with you, as far as I think I taught you how to be too strong. And he was like, I messed up. So I get what he was saying. Like, I, put all of this into you, but I should have, showed you, like, okay, you can let your guard down, Toya. You don't have to be so strong. You don't have to be the one to pick up the slack, and you can allow someone to do something and things for you, and that I have a hard time with allowing people to do things for me. Mm-hmm. And that's anybody, my siblings, my friends. Like, I just do things myself, and even if I am in need of some assistance, I'm not one to ask anybody. I'll just figure it out and deal with it the best way that I can. So I know that I have some things to work on, and I've been working on those things, but I want to date so I have the chance to be able to, see, like, how I'm doing. You know what I mean? So.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think, and everything you said made sense, and I want to say I got some ideas for you. So when we wrap, next time off camera, I got some ideas for you. I got some stuff for you. So, but I will say that, sort of my approach whenever I see any difficulties in the dating realm, right? I always look for two things. I look for fear and imbalance, right? And fear drives imbalance, because imbalance is the extremes. Over here, too much over here, too much over there, right? So at the root of it, well, what would be the fear, right? Okay, when our value or identity is formed around something like, being independent and all of that kind of stuff, so if we form our self-concept, and the majority of that pie graph is the independence, and is the not needing anybody else, and the leader, the one that leads, the one that sets the tone, right? When too much of that self-concept is dedicated to that, because those are good qualities, but in too much of a if it's comprised of too much of that, then the fear is, if we're not that, and we let other things happen or become welcoming or do these different things or allow people to do stuff, and then we're not valuable. Fear is like we're not doing our job, we're not fulfilling our role. And that's scary when the majority of our self-concept is threatened. If it's comprised of one thing. For example, you would think that, millionaires or people, stock traders, all these different people wouldn't experience depression and things like that. But, you've heard of people who, just high level, but maybe lose their job and then commit suicide after that. And you're like, wait a minute, you're in America, you're a millionaire, you got access to everything. How can you get to that level? Well, if they were raised in a household where their accomplishments were the only value that was placed in them, then when they lost access to their status, their job, their position, their role, and their self-concept was 93% status, and you lose that status, it's so detrimental to the psyche that it's difficult to do. So that's an extreme case, but I'm just talking about, just to show that, depending on how our self-concept is formed, that's why it's difficult for you to kind of branch out and do something different. And that's why it's kind of uncharted territory to a degree. So it makes sense, but, now we can kind of just focus on, just starting to push back a little bit incrementally, because again, the more we move against fear, the more obsolete it gets. There will come a point where you can actively and easily move about and connect with people, date, this, that, and the third, and not have any internal shifts that make you feel like, okay, I'm doing it right, I'm not doing it right, or I'm trying to do it. Like there won't be any of that. It's just a matter of you flowing through and experiencing and having a great time. Your mood space will be indicative, and you won't have that fear and extreme level of guardedness, because some guardedness makes sense, but so yeah. But it all makes sense. And I will say this, as far as the categories of purpose, we're talking purpose and everything like that. You have really made some big strides and left a blueprint and a mark as you go. You know what I'm saying? And from posting to, setting up shop, getting your, getting brands and marketing and getting everything to a legitimate level. And I definitely want to, don't want to miss the opportunity to say, I'm definitely proud of you for being so consistent with what you're doing. And also want to give you an opportunity to let everybody know how to get in touch, how to connect, where to follow you, and how to be a part of your journey.
I appreciate that, Marcus, and likewise, as far as, because when I first said to myself, okay, I have to figure out like how I can do things differently and improve my my dating life and just relationships in general, you really assisted me with that, and I've learned so much from your platform, from on IG when you're up there on live and so forth like that. It's helped me a great deal. So I have to say thank you for everything that you've done, everything that you continue to do. Like it's really been helpful, really been helpful. But people can reach me on Instagram. My Instagram name is freak of G.Y.M. The acronym GYM stands for Getting You Motivated. My email address is Latoya E. Dobson @yahoo.com. I think I have that on my IG page as well. I have my website that's going to be completed soon, where you can go on there to schedule trainings, to purchase fitness apparel and other products that I have that will be coming very soon. I have a lot more, a lot of things in the works. But yeah, but I'm primarily on Instagram, so you can go on there, check me out. I'm always putting up content as far as workout videos. I put up there every day on my posts and also on my IG live.
Indeed, indeed. Well, you know, keep up the great work. And any last words for the people? Anything motivational? Any last words that you want to, you know, give to anybody watching? I'll leave the floor to you.
I think just, you know, one thing that I've learned from you, Marcus, is the whole the fear mentality. I know that a lot of choices that I make as far as in dating, and I know that I probably passed up some really great opportunities with some great guys because I was fearful and so forth like that. So I'm just learning now, like, not to be fearful of things. And these are the same things that I tell the ladies that I work out with, as far as like the whole motivational aspect of it is just to get out there, do it one step at a time. And I guess, you know, you continue to do things over and over again until you get it. Eventually you'll get it right. So, you know, that's what I see for myself, even in this process. Eventually I will get it right. It's been a long time. But eventually, you know what I mean? You'll get it right if you stick with it.
Absolutely, absolutely, and you've exemplified that a whole lot. So, man, so thank you again for coming through to the platform. It's been a great convo as usual. You know, we got to some really great topics. So you know, keep doing what you're doing, and we'll definitely be in contact real soon.